So, guys, I'm going to be completely real with you tonight and tell you that I pretty much stole all of our topics tonight from Twitter, but I actually think we're going to have a lot of fun. But before we do, I want to start out with a new game, or a new segment, if you want to call it. It's called One Old, One New. So I'm going to give you a category, and I want one answer from before 2015 and one answer from after 2015. Considering at this current moment in time, we're all stuck at home, and we're all, I think, pretty huge comic book nerds, and I'm pretty proud of that as I say it. I want to hear one comic series, run, story arc, whatever, to binge read. Because I hate to say it, and I really, really, really hate to say it, but in terms of superhero movies and TV, I'm at the point where I feel like everything I would want to watch, I've already seen a couple times over. So recently, I've been doing a lot more reading than I have been watching superhero TV. So I want to hear your choices. One story arc before 2015 and one story arc over the last couple of years. Greenblatt, I know you asked to go first, so I'm going to let you go ahead and kick us off.
Oh, all right. Well, for pre-2015, I think I'm going to go with Punisher Max.
Oh, that's a great one.
From around I think it was 2000?
I want to say
it was Marvel Knights.
Yep, 2003 by Garth Ennis, right?
Yeah, I believe so, yeah.
Oh my god, it's so good.
I mean, if you like the Punisher, you would want to read Punisher Max, because that's when Marvel wanted to go dark and edgy, and they allowed M-rated comics essentially.
So, not even M-rated, it was NC-17.
It was beyond.
It was insane.
Yeah, I mean, you want it's just Punisher just eviscerating people, without censoring anything, and it was brutal. It was such a good series that Marvel made a game out of it. Actually, the Punisher game is based off those comics.
Like video game?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, for I think PS2 and Xbox original, right?
Yeah.
But correct me if I'm wrong, it came out the same year that the movie came out. So it's a little bit of a dual.
It is. Some of the movie is also based off of that as well. Yeah. There's the Russian and the stairwell scene, along with the torture. Yep. A lot of that's very similar.
Yeah, they had that Barracuda storyline. They had the Jigsaw storyline. That was insane. So after 2015.
I'm going to go with House of X and Powers of X.
Another good one.
So what it is, if you're not familiar, 2019, for the last 5-6 years, the X-Men haven't been that great in the comic-wise. They've been okay. We've gotten a few good stories, but until Jonathan Hickman got put in charge of X-Men, it changed the game.
Yeah.
House of X and Powers of X revamped the X-Men. They made them better. They made them more likable. It restarted the entire X-Men. They just said, after everything else that we've done in the past, we're starting with a new thing. And it's just, there's time travel involved. There's so many stories. The story is so good.
Yeah,
you get a different type of Charles Xavier, one that takes more action instead of just sits on his ass. Because he literally has the ability to stand up, and he actually does stuff.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. Jonathan Hickman saved the X-Men.
Yeah, I agree. I like it. I think it's a very good run. I have tried doing X-Men Red, X-Men Blue, X-Men Yellow. I couldn't get into it. House of X, I really dig it. Matt, ball's in your court.
Alrighty. So for my old, this technically counts as old because it started in 2002, ran until 2018, but it's old. The Invincible comics.
Okay.
From Image. For anyone who doesn't know, that's my favorite comic book story arc series of all time. It's made by Robert Kirkman, who's most popularly made The Walking Dead. And again, it's one of those comic books that super duper X-rated, very gory, very intense, very interesting story arcs, kind of makes fun of the whole just comic book genre while doing its own campiness. It's really cool. Great comic book series for anyone who wants to read something that's a little bit not Marvel and DC.
Yeah, I dig it. I definitely feel you there. I remember, and I'm going to say the word action figures 1,000 times in this podcast anyway. I specifically remember the first New York Comic-Con we went to. It wasn't in Forest, was it? It wasn't
Yes.
Forest because we weren't close enough junior year. My junior year. The first New York Comic-Con we went to, I remember the first thing you bought was an Invincible action figure, and you're like, I'm so stoked I found this.
It's the only thing I bought that day.
Yeah, I think it is. I think it was the only thing you bought that day. Meanwhile, I walked out with like an entire backpack full of action figures. It was nuts.
I still remember the night you knocking at my door at like 3 a.m. saying, "Hey, you want to go to New York Comic Con in 2 weeks?"
Yeah,
like,
we got tickets. We got tickets for the tickets for Thursday were like fucking 45, $50 a piece.
Yeah.
And the hotel, because we stayed in New Jersey, was like $30 each.
Yeah.
And we split it. And I drove. It was a great time.
I kept you guys up all night.
I still have the video. God. I still have the video of Greenblatt snoring like a chainsaw.
That was rough.
That was nuts. Matt, new storyline.
New storyline. This one's about 2 years old, and that is Marvel's Secret Empire.
Very good.
Yeah, so this is one that I feel got a lot of hype when the whole Captain America Hail Hydra image came out. Everyone's like, "Oh, what's going on?" But besides that, like, yeah, everyone was freaking out, and I thought it was so cool. I didn't start Secret Empire until after I saw that, which I'm sure most people are on the same page because you're like, okay, what's going on here? Yeah, as far as Marvel goes, it's one of my favorite arcs to come out of the last few years. It's super interesting. It's a little bit different. Definitely a little darker. It's a real fun read.
Yeah. Uncle Mike, what are your thoughts? Balls to you, my friend.
Well, I haven't really been a huge comic book guy as far as the physical reading of the comic books. I've really, in the last few years, gotten into a lot of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and then.
Yep. Okay, I'll give you that.
So the two guys who have always interested me the most. So this isn't a recommendation; it's more of what I want to get into.
Okay, I'll give you that. Yeah, that is fair. I didn't know that. I shouldn't have thrown this at you.
No, all good, all good. I know I've always been a huge fan of Thor. So I would say I would try to go back and read a lot of Thor, the first or second volumes. I have a couple friends who are really into comics from when I was growing up, and they said that they always found those super interesting.
Yeah.
And then I guess for newer ones, I think Deadpool's 4th volume in 2015 started right around then.
Yeah.
And Deadpool is. For someone like me who enjoys like the comedic side of superheroes, I mean, you can't get much more
Deadpool
than that.
Are the top of the tier.
Right. So I would love to go back, and it's 5 years old now, but I would love to go back and start doing some of those.
Yeah. Well, of course, Greenblatt has that site that he showed me, readcomiconline.to, and not trying to advertise for them, but it is free if you guys want to read anything, as long as you deal with the Asian porn ads. You just scroll by them. Jared.
Yeah. So for me, I've been a huge Star Wars fan my whole life, and like I think it was like freshman year of high school, I picked up one of the Darth Vader comics.
I have that on my list as well.
Yeah, so I think it was like volume 1. I haven't read the most. Yeah, it was like 2015. I haven't read the most recent ones, but it's just like
they're good. I've been reading them.
It's everything you want in a Darth Vader comic. Like you get the the grittiness of the Empire, the aftermath of Episode 4. You even see like I think Boba Fett's in it and Jabba the Hutt, if I'm not mistaken, Greenblatt.
Yeah.
So that like for me as a Star Wars fan, like it just like enhances your knowledge, and like you can sit back, enjoy a nice thing that isn't the movie, the original trilogy. And now that the new shows or the Clone Wars is back, like it just feeds into it.
Oh yeah.
From Anakin, turning into Vader. So it's nice to see. And I think now that I'm in quarantine, I'm gonna start picking them up again.
You should. I mean, if you want, I can send you that link that has all of them. You can't really go out and buy them.
Yeah, I'd appreciate it. That'd be great.
Sean, balls to you, my friend.
Well,
I need a transition phrase. Sean.
I'm kind of in the same boat as Mike. I like comic books, but I wasn't like huge into them like you guys. Like you guys are making me look like an amateur in comparison. But
You're
I
good, my
always
friend.
I always loved my favorite superhero growing up was Spider-Man by 10,000 miles. Remember my dad was kind of into it when he was little, so he passed it on to me. And then that was around the same time the Tobey Maguire movies were coming out, so it kind of like intertwined a little bit. So and I remember, I think it was like 15 years ago, I remember they used to reprint the original Spider-Man comics and put them in the newspapers or something, so I still have all those.
Yeah.
Yeah, just the whole Spider-Man thing was my favorite thing, but yeah.
All right, I'm gonna do mine really quick. For recent, I know I've definitely talked to Matt about this and probably Greenblatt. The DC storyline that's, I think, from 2017 to 2019, and that's Doomsday Clock. It's essentially the backbone of what the DC Rebirth is, because it's just all of a sudden out of the blue, the New 52 stopped and DC decided they were going to have a quote-unquote rebirth. And they never really explained how that happened. Wally West just appeared one day. And they kind of hinted that Dr. Manhattan was involved, but it wasn't until they actually did Doomsday Clock that you see the DC universe and the Watchmen universe intertwine and kind of collapse in on each other. And you see a lot of interactions between Rorschach and Batman that's really cool. It's not the original Rorschach, because if you read the Watchmen comic book, Rorschach is very dead and he's not coming back. But they introduced two other villains, Mime and Marionette, who I'm not going to lie, I didn't know anything about before this happened. They could have been real characters. They could not have.
I think they were new.
Yeah, they were new. Really, really well done. Seeing Ozymandias and Lex Luthor on the same page is pretty freaking cool. And of course, seeing Dr. Manhattan go toe-to-toe with Superman, and I'm not going to spoil it because I don't want to spoil it, because A, I still want you guys to read it, and anybody who's watching this, I think they should read it. That's the point of the segment. But it's really... It really makes the characters take a different perspective on life versus just violence and why we do things and what the reasons behind our decisions. It's really cool. It's very Watchmen-esque, where it makes you think versus just entertaining you with the story. Going back, I can't really call this an old book because at this point it's 10 years ago. And I think Greenblatt knows exactly what I'm talking about when I say 10 years ago. Without question, my favorite comic book story of all time is Jeff Johns' Flashpoint.
Oh, yeah.
The story of Barry Allen going back in time, saving his mother, and essentially destroying the timeline, resetting the timeline to a point where he has no powers. Bruce Wayne died, Thomas Wayne's alive, and he's Batman. And Aquaman and Wonder Woman go from sleeping with each other to wanting to murder each other in Atlantis, and the Amazons are at war. It's a whole mess.
Well, she killed Mira. That's why.
She killed Mira. Great book. It is Jeff Johns, right? I'm not crazy.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I'll double check that before I post this. But it is, great book, great story. And it caused the New 52. And say what you'd like about the New 52.
It was, so just looked it up.
Thank you, Greenblatt. Say what you'd like about the New 52, but in terms of the revolution, the evolution of DC Comics as a whole, you can't be where you are today without Flashpoint. And they made an animated movie, which is freaking awesome. I highly suggest you watch that. And they did an iteration of it in the Flash TV show with Grant Gustin, which you guys know how much I love. Didn't do it justice as much as I wish they could, just because I think they did very early in the series, and I think if they waited a little bit more, they could have had a lot more things that went wrong that they had to fix. But to each his own. So we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, I want to talk about the saddest moment ever in a sports movie. I have a dark horse choice. I am very interested to hear what you guys think. So Let's take a quick break, and we'll be